Okay, well, show. Today, we're going to be talking about stress testing property investments. I've been doing this all the time since I very first started. I had no idea that's what you call it, Richard. But I didn't realise that's what I did every single time. It was stress testing my
Yep.
property investments. Even before I made a decision whether to buy or not, I would go through these numbers, I'd stress test it, and if it made sense and there was a lot of leeway there, this is what I'm talking about. This is all probability risk analysis as well, and opportunity cost, opportunity loss, all comes into this. This full big thing in this bigger picture. I used to do that every single time, and I'm going to show you exactly how I do it right now about property investment. So if you're new to property investment, you better hang on, because I tell you, there's people that lose in property investment, and you look at them and go, how on earth could you lose in property investment? It is a done deal if you do it right. And it's because they actually don't do this. They don't do this in the beginning. So this is the difference between winners and losers in property investment. And it is as black and white as that reality. There is no grey middle ground here. This is how people lose and win in property investment, period. That's it, full stop. Okay. Richard, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think stress testing is a good way to explain how that process is put out there, and I think this will draw from a lot of what we've spoke about in other shows today, and I'm quite interested to see where it's going to lead us as we go through the show today. So, yeah, have a good one.
Perfect. Okay, what's in the news now? We'll quickly cover the news. We'll go into talk about capital gains.
Yeah, that's what I was going
What's this thing about capital gains? What's going on?
Well, the capital gains at the moment, the government reportedly looking at ways to shrink the amateur end of the private rented sector. And they're going to do this by giving incentives to people like accidental landlords and things to try and get them to sell up.
Yeah.
And obviously they're doing that to try and make more properties available for like first-time buyers and things. And they're going to do that by tempting buy-to-let landlords with lower capital gains when they do sell. Now, this obviously will probably drive up, in fact, ultimately will drive up rents, but it will make more property. Well, they think this is going to make property available for first-time buyers and things. So this is what they're talking about at the moment. But we spoke about it last week, Jim, and you were saying it's almost like they're going to revert back to being like an index, an indexation and things.
Geez, I think they just think up idea of the month. You know, it's kind of like that. That's how I look at it. They think about idea of the month, and they think, you know, what can we do to please people, and what's going to be a vote winner for us, and how we're going to do this, and they just come out with it, and they just go, this is what we're thinking about, and then they just see if public opinion's on their side, and if public opinion's on their side, I think they just go ahead and do it. That's what it comes down to. We've done something like this before. You know, about the capital gains rules. Now, this was back in December 2020. I'm going to post a link on here for people so they'll actually see it. So I'm going to post that.
So that Five Property Show was proposed capital gains tax changes, and it was I think it went out the 3rd of December 2020. And I was looking at that.
What does this mean then? I mean, what did this all mean? You know, do you want to cover just briefly what this all meant about the possible new capital gains rule? This was the Office of Tax Simplification, because there's like all the different ways about calculating capital gains. There's about 10 or 12 different ways, depending on what you're getting, depending on whether it's property, depending on whether it's shares, depending on whether it's whether you're trading as you're running
company or an organisation,
or whether your works are or antiques or whatever it is. So this is what the Office of Tax Simplification actually came up with. So, you know, in a nutshell, what's that? What happened?
Well, and as explained in that in our previous show, the one that we done in 2020, there was a difference put in place because obviously new landlords that had the higher rated taxpayer that was earning higher, obviously their capital gains bill was going to be significantly reduced. And then obviously once under the new proposals, then it was going to obviously have quite a big impact on what their capital gains was going to be. And then even at that, there was further savings, as you see, the OTS proposals, and then all capital gains made before 2000 as well would also be tax free. So there was a lot of implications in that, and there was a lot of interesting facts in that article that we done, in the blog that we done, and this link that you've just posted. So I think it's quite good for people to refer back to that and look at what we spoke about then and what they're now proposing now.
Yeah, this is because they reckon they could raise, if they did this and change the rules, they could raise about 18 billion in revenue.
Yeah.
Out of tax, out of us, effectively, as owners. So the average property price in 2000 was 58,900.
Yeah.
And they were thinking about what was the whole thing?
The average value of a Fife property in 2000 was 58,000, and today, obviously in the article, today obviously the same Fife property has increased in value to 178,300, or just about 178,500, which is meaning there's a profit of 119,400, or nearly 119,500. So a Fife landlord as a higher tax rate payer, earning 60,000 a year, their capital gains bill on that would after the annual allowance would be 29,988.
Yeah.
But then, as we looked at it under the new rules and the new proposal, the capital gains tax payable, assuming that the capital gains rate was 40% and a lower annual allowance of 5,000, the same Fife landlord would pay 23,170, which is a saving of almost about £7,000. And then that's going to say
that's provided, isn't it, that they actually bought their property in the year 2000 or before.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
Because we worked out that anybody that's bought their property recently or after the year 2000 possibly could end up worse off.
Yeah.
So landlords that have actually held their property for a long time, when it changed, because indexation used to be in before. Indexation was in before, years ago, and then they changed it to this, flat rate of, if you're a low rate taxpayer, it's 18%. If you're a high rate taxpayer, it's 28%. Yeah. And then all my indexation was taken away. I had 60% allowances on stuff, for capital gains. So the Bampots went and took it away. So it wasn't great. And that then obviously discouraged me, because I was thinking, wow, this is a perfect opportunity to sell up. And I did. You didn't on the credit crunch. Just before the credit crunch happened, I sold quite a few properties, and that kind of incentivized me to do that, because I was getting indexation allowances and I had quite a good amount built up. But it stopped me actually selling, because the base rate ended up being, wait a minute, I'll be between 28% now, right across the board. So it makes no sense at all. So really, the general rule of thumb out of that was, if you've got property that you've held or bought before the year 2000, you'll probably be better off under these new capital gain rules if they do come in. If you don't have, you'd probably be worse off. So I would say, companies though, does it?
No, I mean, just to touch on indexation, obviously for individuals, indexation allowance was frozen in 1998, and then it was eliminated in 2008. And indexation allowances currently allow companies and organisations to claim tax-free relief when they're calculating their chargeable gains. So it is different for individuals, and obviously then eliminates.
But the great thing about having limited company is you're taxed on corporation tax company rate, which is 19% now. Could be 20, I can't remember. But if you're an individual in your own right and you're a higher rate taxpayer, under the new regime, that will be added on as your normal income and actually taxed at the higher rate of whatever rate you're on at the time.
Yeah,
I'll be honest, I wouldn't expect most private landlords actually to be on a high rate tax, individually anyway, purely for the fact that most are actually putting money aside in order to provide for their pension and retirement stuff like that in the future. And that's because they don't really make significantly enough in order to put away into pension funds and all the rest of it to make a huge amount of money in order to grow their wealth later on. That's why most private landlords only have one or two properties, because they don't understand the dynamics of actually increasing that wealth and generating that wealth. And this is what the Wealth Creation Show is all about. I thought it was interesting because you actually sent an email to someone and they said, you're just trying to recruit me. And I thought, recruit you for what? It's like we're giving you information for nothing on how to be extremely successful in the buy-to-let market. And there's no upsell to this at all. No. I'm not actually asking you to buy into anything. I'm giving you this information from free which I would obviously charge other people if I really wanted to do it. I'd be charging them like £5,000 a course for a 2-day course to do. And I'm giving that away for free. And I don't charge for courses.
Yeah, no. And it's something that we put out there. And
you know, the thing about this, what I find interesting, I was talking to somebody about this morning, you know, the catch of what we're doing right here is you don't need to do it.
Yeah.
And that is the catch. And if the penny drops when I've actually said that, you'll understand that, because it's like, you don't need to do it. It's easy to sit on the couch and watch the television and watch time go by and not realise that your future's flashing before your life as you go into your retirement, and you've not provided for it at all. This is why we do this right now, to give you that heads up, to give you that information right now, so you can understand the dynamics of how people create wealth. It doesn't just fall in your lap. You have to actually do something to get it. And it comes back, and I love this phrase: if you're not prepared to pay the price for success, wait till you get the bill from regret.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant one, and it really just hits it home very, very articulately exactly what it is. If you don't pay that price, your family's going to pay that price. Your next generation is going to pay that price. Some people think, well, that's the way it is, and that's the way we work. And it's like, well, I don't appreciate the fact that my children might have to work till they die. And if I can do something about that now in long-term planning, so they have the choice whether they want to do that or not, that's perfect for me. That's exactly
that's really what it's all about. I think ultimately that is what it's all about for individuals and themselves, but like you see, families and your children and things as well, and setting that up for the future. And that's and this is what things like this, like we do, obviously, to chat and share advice and help, and help people try and create their own wealth.
Yeah,
and it's all free, and it's up to you whether you want to use it or not.
And that's probably the problem. It's free, because people often treat things that are for free. They just treat it like it's casual, but they don't realise the opportunity is right in front of them, and literally the value it's on what we're talking about right now. You'll not get this information shared by anybody else, what we're about to talk about stress testing, because everybody, they feed you into a course. In other words, they give you a free session. They give you just enough in order to get you cha-ching. Photograph taking. I've got you on the hook, and that's effectively what they're doing, isn't it? So they just get you into that system, and then the upsell all the way through, and the next minute, before you know it, you're on a £20,000 mentorship course for a year. It's like, what happened there? And
that's why people have got that kind of programmed into them, that if something's free, then they immediately question, well, what's the catch? It can't just be free. So,
and the catch is you don't need to do it.
Yeah,
that's it ultimately. So, Office of Tax Tax Simplification. Again, you could read the article. I posted it in the comments down below. So down below, I posted that in the comments. You could read it. You can watch the show as well, and we talk about it. And we actually might do another show on that in the future, because that was 2020. But it's still worth to go over that again and realise, now that we're thinking about what we're thinking and where we are right now, what's the implications for this now, if that was actually to come in. The implications is, to be honest, check with your accountant whether these numbers work. But you should seriously be looking at setting your company up in a limited company. I can't stress it enough. There's a lot more. It's a lot easier to do buy-to-let and limited companies now. It may cost you a wee bit more in terms of getting accounts done at the end of the year. It may be a wee bit of work in doing your day-to-day accounts, but I suppose it isn't, because you've still got to do that as a normal, if you're earning it yourself. No, there's no real difficulty to it. I mean, we did that private Zoom session, on the last Thursday, and we did about setting up a limited company, and you saw how easy that was.
Yeah. It is, people's fear is setting it up wrong, and am I going to do it right and things, and it is really simple. And
what if I set it wrong? What if I lose out? What if I end up costing me money in the long run because I don't realise what I'm doing, and I don't realise how that jigsaw fits together in this whole buy-to-let thing? But that's how I take you through again. It's another course. It's somebody actually would take you through and charge you a bloody fortune for.
Yeah.
And there's folk on there doing that. And we're free. we need to come up with another word rather than free.
Yeah, I know,
because every time anybody hears free, it's like there's a catch. There's got to be a catch.
Yeah.
Maybe stand down, leading down. I'll maybe stand down some high streets and start giving out fivers again and see what happens with people like avoiding you. It's like, oh no, there must be a catch. It's let's talk about stress testing then.
Yeah.
Let's get on to this. What is stress testing?
I think, well, like you say, it's looking at obviously the whole property sourcing and purchasing process. It's looking at what the property price is going to be, what you're going to have to put into there, the money that you're going to need to turn that into a viable buy to let, make it compliant, get it up and running. Looking at all these figures and ultimately how it all works, and do the numbers add up as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's look at property sourcing first, because this is where it all comes from. This is where the journey starts. I'm gonna quickly go on to another a website. You know, probably a traditional website. Have we got Google? We've got our Google here. You see that Google?
Yep.
Okay, so let's go on. We'll go on Zoopla. Now, believe it or not, I go on Zoopla all the time because not every agent goes on Zoopla on Rightmove, because Rightmove's actually quite dear. Could you see Zoopla now?
Yeah, and Zoopla's good for picking up the solicitors and things. They deal with a lot of like deceased estates and things, which are ideal. You
know, we've done another property sourcing course before, or you know, I hate to call it a course because it's no chargeable
tutorial.
Aye, it's a tutorial, yeah. So we've gone through that before about setting up and property sourcing, and we could go in that in deep detail in another session. If anybody wants out there, please feel free to mention in the comments what you want us to talk about, because I'll give you any information you want about how to be successful in property investment and wealth creation. And if I don't know the answer, I'll go to somebody that does. So that's the reality, because I know where everybody gets all their information. So quickly, what I go on is I go into all these websites, and it depends on what area, but I'm quickly doing Fife right now. But you could do Cooper, you could do St Andrews, you could do Leaven, you can do Methil, you could do Buckhaven. But I typically go for the filters, and I go for the lowest price first.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the reasoning behind that in a minute. So lowest price first, I'm quickly looking through. Obviously, I've skip. They're all land and the rest of it. Land for sale in Kirkcaldy. Well, you could build there, but I don't know if it's really worth it. There's a guide price, Alexandra Street, Dunfermline. I mean, 40 grand. That's a no-brainer. If you get that for under 40 grand, you're not paying any stamp duty on it, by the way. There's no 4% ADS under there. You've got land for sale there. You've got another 1-bedroom in Methil High Street. There's one just added, 40 grand for us.
That's the one, yeah.
God, that's a no-brainer, eh? It's flipping heck. Look at that.
I think I was going to say it's a decent size, that one, yeah.
And the kitchen looks like it's in the lounge.
It's a bit of a studio setup, but for the main living area, but it's got a separate bedroom. So
now, bear that in mind. This one, right? This is what I do. I drill into it, and I just quickly look at it. We've got a virtual tour on there for a video. We'll not go into details, but I'll quickly look at the floor plan. Can you see the floor plan?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so kitchen, lounge, bedroom, shower room, utility, great stuff. What would you get in rent for that?
That's a good wee flat, and I mean, one bed's like that. I mean, we're getting about 375 for a one bed just now.
Do you think though a studio flat would get that in Methil, where that is?
But 350 at least. I mean, you're not going to be less than that.
So we err on the side of caution and we say 350. Let's jump back to search results. We'll take a wee note of that, because that'll go in for our thing there. So 40 grand and 350.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's look at guide price then. We've got Station Road, Kelty. There's a 1-bedroom at 44. There's Henry Crescent, 1-bedroom. There's High Street, Newborough. I know these properties. They're all right. They're pretty good. 1-bedroom there. 2-bedroom at the Causeway, Kennyway. Now we're getting into serious business. We're getting a 50 grand one there at the Causeway.
It's above the pub and
quick look through there. But still, I mean, some people are no bothered.
The good thing is it's right next to the shopping centre and the bus station.
Switch the telly off, eh?
I know.
Like, how nice do you sell a house like that? Like, oh, come and look at this attractive proposition. It looks shit by.
Yeah. The telly's on and the blinds are shut.
The lights not even on, blinds are shut and all the rest of it. God's sake. I take it that might be a tenant in property already.
There's actually 2 of them.
Hallelujah, I've got a floor plan for a change. Okay, living room, bedroom, bathroom, bedroom, kitchen. Okay, so 2-bedroom. So you got a 2-bedroom there. It's not got a garden, I would imagine. So
No.
we're sitting at 49 for that. How much would that get you, reckon?
You're talking about 450 for that.
450. Would it be? We'll talk about that later on. But what about attractiveness? In terms of low demand, would something like that be less attractive for a tenant?
I mean, there's a few things about it that I think would maybe be questioned, but because there's such a high demand just now, and we're still low stock.
So we're all singing, all dancing now, and we're getting a really good return. And everybody's wanting everything, and it does say possibly being sold with long-term sitting tenant. So it could actually have long-term sitting tenant. It depends how much they're paying, though. I would still be interested to know that. And plus the fact it's an older style property. EPC, where's that about? EPC, come on, where's your EPC?
I don't think it's there.
No, it has to be by law. There you go. D. So that's not a great EPC, because is it not meant to be by C by a certain time?
It's to be C by 2025. They're talking about extending that to 2026, but that's only for new lets. So if you've got this tenant in place and they do stay in place, you won't have to upgrade it to a C until 2028.
Yeah, but C could
as long as the tenant stays in place.
Look, it says current 57, potential 59, so it'll never ever get beyond a D. Now,
yeah, because I mean, a D is not the worst rating, but then it's got its potential.
That's when you've got dispensation, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So we've got dispensation for that one. You've got, because the law actually says if you can't get it any better and it's going to be prohibitive, we'll no force you to say you've got to upgrade it, and because would still need letting properties.
Yeah.
So it says likely cash buy as well. It could be the fact that it's over a pub. That's the reason as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's the Swan that's below that. The Swan.
Yeah. So let's pop back again. Glaston Street, 1-bedroom flat.
Yeah, that's a good one.
We're sitting at 50 grand. How much rent?
You would get 375 for a 1-bed in Glaston Street. I mean, if you wanted to stay on the air, of course. Sorry?
What about the way it looks now?
I think it looks fine. Is that off-street parking on there as well?
Oh, it looks a bit like it's needing a wee bit of looks. You can see tint where the stuff's been taken off. That looks like smoke damage, kind of like a smoker.
Yeah.
I have a funny feeling you've got to do a wee refurb on that, because it looks negative.
Yeah, the pictures are smaller for me. I'm just going to say it does have off-street parking, though.
It looks pretty negative. Does it?
Yeah, keep going. There you go.
There you go.
And a lot of these ones
at 50, and you reckon 375.
Yeah, definitely if it's got off-street parking.
So let's pop back to the pictures up. So there's a 2-bedroom flat in Denmark, 50 grand. It's been on for quite a while, that actually.
I was just going to say that's been on for quite a while, and I've looked at it and I thought, I wonder what's putting people off. I mean, the garden's not great, but the property itself, I thought that's a good flat. I would let that in no time.
Yeah. So 50, 2-bed flat, how much?
475.
But you reckon that's top end when good condition?
Yeah, well, I mean,
again, that looks pretty. It looks like
it needs decor and things, but once it's done,
I've got a funny feeling it looks like there's damp there. There's staining.
Yeah, but the 4 in the block X local authorities in Buckhaven, Denmark, we're getting 475 for them easy.
Yeah, decent enough kitchen.
Kitchen looks okay. Yeah.
It does look a wee bit run down though. They've painted over that sort of PVC wallpaper. See in the back.
Yeah.
The way that's done. The boiler is older. You can see that's not a condenser boiler. That's an old Ideal wall mounted. So the boiler's a bit dated. Back garden's a bit worse for wear. So it could need a wee bit spent on it. Probably about what? Maybe about 6 grand.
Yeah, a few thousand, 6,000-7,000 maybe. To get that looking good and getting 475 a month.
See, it says closing date, but yet there's no sold on it.
So when was the closing date then?
Apparently in April, but there's no sold. So I don't know what's going on there.
I mean, it's sat for a long time.
There's the 67 C and D, but potential C is 78. So that's where you would be required probably to get it to a C.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you potentially a new boiler in there would probably bring that up. Yeah. If you need to put one in.
You can see that could be easily done though. There's 2 bedrooms there, there's 2 bedrooms there, there's 2 bedrooms there, 1 bedroom there, 1 bedroom there. quickly jump onto the next. Land for sale, Kidd Street. Kidd Street, any good? Kirkcaldy?
Kidd Street's not the best.
I don't know. Right, bypass. But in high demand times, it'll probably be taken, wouldn't it?
It would. In high demand times, I mean, like, that's what we're seeing, properties in areas that usually maybe a wee bit sticky are letting really quickly because of the demand.
Yeah, there's a 3-bedroom Carden Den, 3-bedroom terrace house for 60 grand.
Yeah.
And that's just gone on about a week ago. So let's have a wee look in there. See these pictures, all right?
Yeah.
Again, God, it's flipping heck. Can you not take better pictures? Bloody hell. It's like they look dire, eh? I mean, it is a wee bit run down, but it doesn't mean to say you've got to neglect it with everything, even the pictures. So it's needing a fair bit of work done at that one. That's
it needs a wee bit done. Yeah, that's a wee bit. But then obviously price point reflects that.
Yeah, that looks... That's a repo. See the sticker?
So it is.
Yeah. So that's asset
management.
That's
that'll be sold as seen.
Yeah, so take your risk. And there's a flat roof off the back. It looks like a half-baked extension off the back.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like off-street parking, garden. A fair bit of work to do on that, but it'll make somebody a good family home. It's possibly not one I would want to, because I don't want to outlay a lot of cash in the beginning, unless I'm doing a major refurb. It's getting contractors is most of the hassle. So Barry Street, here's another one.
Barry Street's a good one. I've got a couple that I've just done in the recent last 2 years.
63.5. Barry Street and Metal. Let's click on that. Have a wee look through first, and then you can tell me what you're thinking at that. Looks no bad, eh?
Yeah. That's quite nice, actually.
Wet room.
Wet room's no ideal, but it's not the end of the world.
Well, actually, I mean, believe it or not, I actually prefer that to a shower. Because a shower, you're in a cubicle, that's a lot more open. And then kitchen's like, no great. Well, the pictures are no great.
That's the pictures, aye.
It's like, I would probably change that blue worktop.
I was just going to say, a new worktop and a liquid paint, it maybe be fine. I might not even need a liquid paint.
Yeah, I mean, from a different angle, it looks all right, yeah?
Yeah, it's actually not too bad.
And bedrooms,
the blue
wardrobes. Yeah, overall, not the greatest photo for that. Somebody's been playing about with the contrast, you can see that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The green's gone, whoo! Oh dear. Clearly not getting a professional photographer out then. Yeah, that's quite a good one, and that's just up from the old Doctor Surgery, which was refurbed that we sold, mind.
Yeah,
and just down the purple cat's there in the corner. Have you ever liked the purple in the corner? So that's actually no bad, because when you look out for there, it's a shame it's not got it, but you're actually looking over a grassed area, I think. I don't think you're looking over a grassed area, and it goes
off to the left a wee bit.
It goes to Wheatley Street, doesn't it?
Yeah, that.
It points out to Wheatley Street, which is actually quite good. So that's a pretty good one. And we'll no floor plan. Damn. Okay, EPC. Description, no floor plan, no EPC. That shouldn't be on the market, by the way, whoever that is. You've got no EPC on there, and you're not meant to advertise properties without an EPC. Breaking the law, and that's a solicitor. Dearie me. What the world coming to? It's like, God, I mean, you've got people that we need to get proper qualifications in for estate agents, don't we? You know, just like we've got for Letwell, we should be doing it for estate agents. It's and it should be mandatory. Anyway, we've got enough to go on with, haven't we?
Yeah.
To talk about what we're doing. Let's remove that then. Okay, now, spreadsheet time. I'll take that off. Let me get rid of that. I wonder if I could share another one. Stop sharing. No, I could do that. Spreadsheet time. Oh, actually, let's go back to that post, because I need to look up interest rates.
Okay.
So just bear with me, and I'll go on. I think it was possibly no. That's going to look right. Zoopla Chrome tab. See that all right still?
That's fine.
Yeah, Mortgage Works. Let's jump on the Mortgage Work. I was thinking about the Mortgage Works to look at the current rates, because they're the biggest buy-to-let lender Mortgage Watch for intermediaries. You can't get direct with Mortgage Watch, by the way. You have to go through a broker, but it still gives you the product. So I usually find out what product I'm going to get, work it all out, and then just tell the broker that's the one I'm getting. I like to just tell them that's what I'm getting. Job done. Limited company buy to let. So we'll look at that. Select client type. We'll select all the different rates. Let's just go for the full Buna. And then we could work out exactly where we are with things. Just do purchase now. So we're looking at, ideally, we're looking at 75% loan to values. Because you don't want to prejudice it up. See, look, the 80% jumps up 1%. You see that?
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
So, I mean, it's over 2 years, but it just jumps up 1%, and I wouldn't want to do that. 75% loan to value jumps at 1%, but that's fixed for 5 years instead of 1 year. You might actually want that, 3.19. I think that's a really good rate for a buy-to-let limited company. Now, you're paying 3.19, but you're paying $2,000 in fees at 75% LTV. Okay. If you look at the 5 year, you're down and you're paying 3.24 and you're only paying 995, and then you are none at 3.47 for zero arrangement fees. Okay. I'm going to use that as a classic example about a 5 year, because I think 5 years is a good deal. Because we're assuming that everybody's holding on to long term. So 5 years probably a really good deal now. I just see rates going up there. There's no great proposition in that. So we've got our rates for a buy to let. We've got our numbers in terms of what we're looking to buy for. I'm going to pop that. I'm going to share the screen now and do a share of my spreadsheet.
Yep.
And we'll start crunching some numbers here. See that okay?
Yeah.
That's me getting carried away buying 8 properties. Okay. If you buy 8, you get away with the 4. If you buy more than 6, you get away with the 4% ADS. That's why it goes on an averaging. Okay, so let's take the first one at 40,000. No, actually, let's take the highest one. We're talking about the one at Denwalk, 50 grand.
Yeah.
Is that right? Or was it 63.5?
No, the 2-bedroom.
There was one at 63.5.
That was the 3-bed in Cardendale.
Yeah. Was it? Sorry, I'm talking rubbish. 50 grand.
50 grand, 2-bedroom, Denwalk, Buckhaven.
That's it. This is a no-brainer. I could tell you the answer before we start the journey. 4%, 25% down, because you're 75% loan to value. Now you are 3.19, and that's over 5 years. Okay. By the way, I am not a mortgage broker. I am not giving financial advice. This is just what I do in stress testing. So if you want to see what I do, this is what I'm showing you. I'm not telling you need to do this, but this is what I do. And it works for me every single time. Arrangement fee on that one is $2,000. So
yeah, it was
you're talking about more or less about around about 5.5% of the loan. So 5.5%. Some of the lenders actually won't give you 50 grand, by the way. Some will borderline 50 grand's their minimum. Some are now 60. So you've got to ask your mortgage broker what gives you that. So I'm just assuming at this point in time we are there. But we'll stress test it at different levels and show you how it works. Now, see that interest rate? See there, 1, 2, 4, 6. Okay. Now that's over 5 years. The 1, 2, 4, 6. I'm quickly going to do a calculation here, and I'm going to show you what I'm thinking. So if I do £1,000 less over 5 years, for over 5 years, I'll have to pay 3.24 in the arrangement fee. So the arrangement fees go down by £1,000. All right. Now that brings me to an interest rate of 1,281. Okay. Plus 1,281 minus 146 is 35 quid extra a year. Right, you know what I'm doing here, eh? Plus 35 times 5, because it's 5 years, is 175 quid. It is a no-brainer at this point in time not to pay the £2,000 one and the £2,000 fixed fee and just go for the 3.24.
So a slightly higher rate with a lower up front. And
then you're only on at 2.5 or something. So you're about there in terms of your arrangement fee. So that makes sense to do that, right? So we're at 1,281 now. Sorry, I'll stand corrected. Where are we? 124. So 1245. 1245. I'm over typing that by any chance? No, I'm fine. 1245. And then when I change it to 3.47, it comes to 1333. That's another no-brainer.
Yeah.
I would actually go for the 3.47 now. Because over 5 years, that's another 440 quid, and yet you're getting it for zero arrangement fee.
I was just going to say that's no arrangement fee.
That's the first time I've seen that. Usually, typically, you go for the middle one, but they've actually done that. So they're incentivizing you to fix it 3.47 for 5 years. So I'd go for the 3.47 for 5 years. Hopefully, everybody understands that. If you understand that, give me a thumbs up, just so we make sure, or type 5 in the comments, something like that.
That's a really good example of what stress testing and it actually shows you, because you've just worked out there about what you actually thought was maybe wasn't exactly accurate, because you were thinking it's going to be the middle one, but really worked out that the one.
Typically, it's always the 999 is the best one to pay for the arrangement fee, but it works out over the 5 years fixed rate. You're better at 3.47 in that choice.
Yeah.
And so that's us decided. We're going for the zero arrangement fee in that scenario. So that hopefully that shows everybody from the beginning what we're doing. Now, at the 50,000, you were thinking 475. You're going to need to spend a wee bit of money on that, though, weren't you?
You probably need about 6 or 7.
Yeah. So you're probably about 6 or 7. So initial equity after you've done it. If you're doing buy-to-let straight away and you've done it, then initial equity is the £2,000 down here. See in that bottom corner there?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the legal fees and a bit of work, maybe just for if you're okay just to move in and do your electrical safety certificate and your smoke detectors. That kind of covers that, with the lawyer's fees as well. So we're talking about in that scenario, it was about £6,000.
Yeah.
To do that. So I'm kind of thinking about 8,000 in there. So I'm putting 8,000 in there as well. So I'm all in, including my deposit, for 22,500. See that? So 22,500 all in. I've got the £8,000 there, which is that. I've got the £2,000 which I'm paying in stamp duty, and I've got the deposit which I'm paying as well. That's what adds up to that amount here. Okay. Now, the key here is I've got this right, the 4% stamp duty. I've got my deposit right. I've got my 3.47 rate is correct because it's 5 years fixed. Interest rates are right. Rent's right. The occupancy rate is 12 months. It's assumed now. So top line rent that's the maximum I could earn. Interest is that. It's going to be that every single year because it's an interest only mortgage I'm getting. Now there's a difference between interest only. So we'll not go into that because we're going to be here forever. That's another story of the difference between interest only. We've done it on previous shows, and please feel free to look back the playlist on YouTube. There's a huge playlist of all the 20 shows before that we've done, and the podcast as well attached to it. And you can get wealth information on that if you keep reading and listening to them. The mother of all skill is repetition. I do this every single time. So when I come to do my decision, there I've got, when I've taken my rent away from my mortgage, I've got 366.56 per month after the mortgage is paid. Most important thing for me is the mortgage is always paid. Come hell or high water, you have to make sure the mortgage is always paid. So you've got £366 if you're renting that at 475 every month after the mortgage is paid. Now, normally we'll talk about gross yield. Gross yield is when it's the purchase price, okay, divided by the maximum rent.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what the gross yield is, 9.5%. But if I use the bank's money and to leverage my position here and get 37,500 of them at 3.74, I'm putting less money in. So my total money in is there. So I leverage that up to 19.6%. I put another 10% yield on that, just by using the bank's money and putting less of my own money in. That's because if my money's in, it's 9.5. If I put the bank's money in my place, I'm getting it 3.47. Yeah. So I'm benefiting from 5% every single time, extra over and above, plus the benefit of using the bank's money even more to leverage it. So that's 19.6 after with the mortgage. So the leverage is better off by 10%. Now, overheads. What overheads do we have? Insurance?
Well, you'll have your landlord's insurance. You'll have agency fees if you've got an agent managing the property.
Typically, agents about all in about 15% a year.
Yeah, including VAT and things, about 15%. Yeah.
Yep. And then you've got your initial fees to put a tenant in.
Yep.
And you've got insurance, and you know you've got day-to-day stuff. You might do minor repairs here and there, but remember you've put $8,000 into refurb it.
Yeah,
So
I was
that's
going
why
to say,
it's
because
in here.
your refurb costs in there, because for that
Yeah.
one, about 6 to do the
This
decor.
is
and
where I
the
start
flooring.
testing it. So in that scenario, if you bought that for that price, you'd be sitting at a 12% net return. That's with somebody else managing it. So that's effectively passive. So 12% net return. Your payback in the years, if you didn't touch that money, would be 8 years. You'd have that money back that you've put in, which is that. So that's the payback. So to get that money back there, it would take you 8 years, what you've got in. And after 8 years, we're not even remortgaging, not even doing anything else, just leaving it as it is, taking all the money, ploughing it all back in, leaving it where it is, and it would actually, you get your money back like that over the next 8 years. That's how that scenario works. Okay,
Yeah.
That's no bad. Okay, so every 8 years, your money doubles effectively what you've got in. Not the property price, remember. Property price, everybody's going about saying property prices are increasing every 10 years, like doubling every 10 years. You're delusional. Property prices are doubling every 15 to 20 years. That's how you should be looking at it. Not every 10 years. Where they're getting that from is people on a course making this up to make things, buy my course because the property market's still great. No, you have to look for these good deals. So your net profit is basically that. So if you really wanted an income out of this before tax, in that scenario, you'd be coming out with £224 a month for that investment.
Which is good. That's good.
That's all right. And then you get taxed on that income. So, just putting 22,500 in, you're getting £224 a month for that. This is where the stress testing comes in. I'm glad you asked me that, Richard. I know. I keep going away. Stress testing, right? Okay. Let's look at scenario. You might have had to pay more for this property. Let's be honest. Because typically an ex-local authority now is about 70 grand, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything else is all right, the deal and everything. Now, see how a lot all changes and it goes down to 7.7%. And then you're 180 quid because your interest rate's going up, but it's still locked in for 5 years.
Yeah.
But this is where I would stress test something. I mean, you're still over 300 cash a month before the mortgage is paid. So if you're paying a lot more for a property, this is where you've got everything else is right in here, you see. And this is where I talk to people about, this is what determines how much you should pay for a property. So when I go to an estate agent and they've got it on at 70 grand and I say, look, I'm going to offer you 63 because that's where my numbers work. That's what I'm doing here. To get my return that I want in my stress testing, that's where my numbers work. And that's where I say, that's where I'm in. It's nothing personal. It's just where my numbers work. If they don't want to accept that, fine. I'll move on to the next person. So it's not trying to get it cheap. It's actually just where my numbers work. Sometimes my numbers work at the home report value. Sometimes they don't. Clearly at that Den Walk one, 50,000, that's the home report value. That worked definitely.
Yeah. That.
So 70,000, and we have that there, and then we walk through the scenario itself. So this is where I come in to say, what happens, and well, interest rates can't go up in that scenario, can they? Because they're locked for 5 years. But what happens if 6% after it comes out? Where are you now? Still making 840. See that?
Yeah.
You're still okay. I mean, it's not the greatest return. You're still stressed. You're covered. Remember, you've still got these tackle. If you have an age, it's an opportunity. If it really gets that bad, you could take it back and manage yourself. But it's a variable cost. You have a data, you've got a lead there. You're 1,700 in there. You're still okay. You're still really worried that much. You've got 2 cents. So occupancy rate even. See that? In that location, it's going to be empty. And what happens? Rent. So what happens? 400. You're okay now. You're doing worst case scenario. And we were up at 475. I mean, at 70 grand, you might not even need it, but you can change these numbers again because 70 grand is ready to go, really, isn't it?
Yeah, if one of these flats are coming in at 70, then you're going to want it.
So you're only going to have to win about 2 grand. So your net return at that rate at the 12 months at 70 grand at 3.74 at 475 a month is 2,000 net profit, which is 180 quid a month before tax income, if that's what you're wanting, an income. And these are in a 10-year payback on the initial amount you've got in if you get your mortgage at that. And then you're leveraging your position as well. You've got 7.6% gross yield. If all your money's in, if you use the bank's money, that jumps up to 17.4% gross yield after the mortgage of your money. And so you're leveraging your position again by 10% in that scenario. So let's look at one of the 1 bedrooms. We had one of there on 40,000. Yeah. No, we had one on at 50,000. We'll use the bigger one. 50,000. Okay. We'll put 50 in. We'll keep the same scenario. Keep the same deposit. Interest rates are the same, clearly. And we were looking at 375, weren't we? So 375 occupancy rate. Are you still making 11%?
Yeah, that's good.
I'm going to run out and buy that flat. Wait, I'm giving away all the goods here.
Is that the one with the sitting tenant?
That is potentially the one with the sitting tenant. Absolutely, it might be. It might not be. But I tell you what, if they're a sitting tenant and if they're on universal credit, then they'll get 375 towards there. Yeah, is it 373?
373. Yeah.
So they'll get universal credit. So they'll get that. So it's 11% return, 9 years payback. Let's look at stress testing again. So in that scenario, what happens if interest rates go up to 8? They're breaking even.
Right.
Interest rates at 8%.
In the likelihood at 8% after the 5 years is low.
Listen, if we're at 8% after 5 years, we're all going to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah.
That's what I always think to myself. Everybody goes, what happens if we're at 10%? Guess what? We're all going with them. It's like if you're at 10%, everybody else is at 10%, and we're all going to hell. That's it. And everything's going to go. So I kind of think I wouldn't worry about that. The government's going to step in at some point in time. The government doesn't want the same problem as they had before.
But it's good.
I can more or less guarantee you that will be the case.
It's good to stress test the worst case scenario, like you say.
Yeah. And what happens if rent decided a 1-bedroom bed sit allowance, 250? You're still making money.
Yeah.
Still making 100. So you're still at 373 is a good deal. If interest rates go up to 8%, you're breaking even. If occupancy rate drops, I would bet on 6. Yeah, 6 months, again, 50% occupied. And it won't be occupied because that one's already occupied now. So your money from day one, which is what we like in terms of thing. But they did say it was probably going to have to be a cash buy because it's above a pub, and very few lenders will lend above a pub. So that means you're only going to get an 8%, 8.5% gross yield. And that's less than what you'd get as if you bought one off and leveraged it for a lender. Plus the fact you'd get more properties. If you pumped all your money into here at 50 grand, you're only putting 16.5 in here. So if you had a 50 grand deposit to put down, you would get 3 of them, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
They're 49.5. See that? So if you had 50 grand to invest here, right there, and you bought them all at 50 grand, the 1 bedrooms, you'd be making 450 quid a month before tax for an income fund for yourself. Plus the fact is you've got now £150,000 worth of property, and in the next 20 years, that property will double. Yeah? That's what happens. It usually doubles in the next 20 years. So you would then add another 150 onto what you're making. And you've basically been paid to wait for the property to go up in value. That's mental, eh?
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Absolutely crazy. So
That's basically what you're doing.
that's the scenario I would say in terms of where we are. Have we got any questions? Yep.
Yeah, there's
Here we go. What's the going rate to have access to Jim's magical spreadsheet?
if they click the link and identify themselves,
we'll have to recruit you. I've got a funny feeling it could be Kevin. We'll have to recruit you, Kevin, and you'll have to buy into us for free. But you'll have to shake your hand under your elbow and lift your leg and shake your hand under your leg and stuff like that and show your left nipple.
It doesn't it? I just checked on my Facebook to see if I can see who that is. If it is Kev, I'll send it across.
Listen, guys, by all means, there's a link in here as well to Richard, to his email address. Just email Richard and for more information. And Rich could touch base with you with your contact details and that. Have a wee conversation with you, and we could suit something that best suits for you. This spreadsheet, by the way, to a Facebook user, this actually gets updated constantly because it's like Windows 1 and Windows 2 and Windows 3.5, Windows 3.6.
I think
every single time I look at a spreadsheet, I've actually got a spreadsheet, a different version of this. I'll actually show it. Hopefully, do you think that's us covered everything on stress testing?
Yeah, that was quite good. I mean, and I know I'm going to say that was quite clear and explanatory to me, and it made sense. Yeah. But if it doesn't make sense to people, you could watch it back and then, of course, just come to us and we can maybe explain
over and over again. Flipping heck, it's like I've just let you see how you make a fortune. Look at what happens if you have 10 of these. Look, you've got £500,000 worth. You've only put 150 grand in, by the way.
Yeah.
You get 10 of these at that price, and you're now making you've got 150 grand in, you've got £500,000 worth of property, and in 20 years' time, you add £500,000 when they double in value to your income.
Mm-hmm.
Mental. There's the wee scenario in the bottom. Look, 20 years' time. Look, capital appreciation 500,000, profit 366, return on investment. Almost at 590% return on investment. Yeehaw! I got 25,400 since I've started since I first started in buy-to-let. 25,400. Do you think I might know what I'm talking about? Quite possibly. Okay, guys. Listen, I don't say that to crow. I just to let you explain. It's like track record in this. I know what I'm doing. But you can see that easily. Anybody that's got money out there sitting in the bank at 150 grand and you're not earning anything on it, you could be earning about 590% over the next 20 years. That's mental, eh? You could be earning 12.5 passive because we could be managing it all for you. 12.5 passive every year, or anything. Hey, listen, even 8% passive. It's like flipping heck. You're not getting that in the bank. You'll never get that for years to come. So that's probably the classic scenario. I mean, you could even play about with that number and say, this is where I play about with the number and say, okay, I'm all right at 11% here, okay? And I'm all right at 10 years return on investment. What will it take if I have to pay 60 grand for a one bedroom? Okay, I'd get 8.1%. I'd get also the capital appreciation every year. That's not included in that net return there, by the way. That's only on your income that you generate every month, every year. So that's why that is. And then the payback down here is over 10 years at 5% appreciation every year. It's not compounded. I've just got 5% simplified on the original investment. And then over the years, it comes to about 236% return on investment. If you want an income out of it for investing 20 grand, 19,400, you could make £131 a month just to tide you over for 20 grand in. No brainer. It's like, why is no everybody doing this? Because they don't understand the process, how to do it. They need help in doing it. So that's where we are with that right now. Will I stop sharing that? Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. And like we say, it's good. This video's here. It's on the playlist on YouTube and things. Watch it over and over again if you like. If it didn't quite make sense the first time round, and that's the beauty of it always been there for everyone to view.
Afternoon, Perry.
Afternoon, Perry.
If you've just joined us, you better go back and start to the.
You have to go back and watch it, yeah.
Because I'm about to blow your mind. It's like, wow. It's like, when I look at this every single time, this is how simple it is for me. So when I go back and work out these numbers, as I said before, when I'm looking at that, I will then work out my tolerance about how much I want to pay for a property based on the information I've got in there. That's exactly how I do it, for that very reason. It just tells me straight away what I should be paying.
Yeah,
so when I work it out, I say there's my tolerance there, and I say, I tell you what, I'm really wanting to pay back, and I'm not really. I'll look at these numbers and I think, what happens if I paid 70 grand for it? And then I work out and think I'm okay with that, and then I'll start stress testing at 70 grand and say, what happens if this drops to 300? What happens if this occupancy rate is only 10 months? What happens if these interest rates are 6%? And it's like, no, I'm in trouble. So you know what I mean? So that's exactly what the whole stress testing is all about. So I'm saying, like, I'm £1,000 down, but by the way, my overheads are 900. So I'm still paying my mortgage just in that scenario. But what's the likelihood that occupancy rate, interest rates, and rent being all different, all negative at the same time? You've obviously got 3.47 there because you've got it fixed for 5 years, so that's a definite. So even if occupancy rate goes down and rent goes down, then you're still okay. But you're not going to get a double whammy like that. Once you've got somebody in, it's very unlikely you're going to get that. Occupancy rate's the only thing. Your tenant might not pay the rent, but then, you know, that's where the occupancy rate probably comes in as well, because if they're in for 12 months and they're only paying 10 months rent, that's the occupancy rate there.
Yeah.
I know it's occupancy rate, but it still works the same way. Yeah?
Yeah.
So hopefully that's given everybody what we do with stress testing. We've not even got any time for anything else, have we?
I know, but they were really good examples, and I think that was quite a clear explanation of how it works and how best to do that and stress test. I think it's a lot of people do, and they wonder, how do I work out if this is going to be a good buy to let? What is it I'm supposed to be looking at? So that's exactly how you do it. And then a lot of people were kind of on the fence about what they should be offering and things as well. And that's the best way to work it out.
Tells it straight away. And I know the rent I'm going to get because I speak to you.
Mm-hmm.
I know what the minimum rent I can get, so I can speak to you. So I know my tolerance, but I can put in my spreadsheet. I know the occupancy rate because you tell me that. And then it's like how popular. I mean, I know myself a wee bit now, but you've got more an ear on the ground because you're at it every day, where I don't get involved in it anymore. Mm-hmm. I just make the decisions at that level and say, yep, we're buying it. Go and buy it. And that's it, really. So that's all I'm doing. And that's how it's easy to do. That's how it's easy to do armchair investing. If you are time poor, right, and you're cash rich, this is what you should be doing. This is how you should be doing it, because this is exactly what I do.
Yeah.
This is the property time machine. This is what will get back the money to release you from having to work all the time and kill yourself because you have no time, because you're working all the time to generate money to keep your lifestyle going. This is what you do. You reinvest it in this, and it gives you your time back, because that money you're reinvesting replaces the money you're earning, and you're trading time for money. This isn't trading time for money. This is like a book. It's like royalties. You've written the book. In other words, you've created the property. You've done it all up. You've put the tenant in, and then it starts to pay you like a book does for royalties when people buy it. That's exactly what this is. It works every single time for the people that work it and keep at it and stay the course. We talked about last week about this long-term thing about compounding wealth. Watch that as well if you've not watched that, because in the first couple of years, first 5 years, it's like, well, I've only got 2 properties. But then I demonstrated after 15 years, you've got 28 properties.
Yeah.
And the compounding, because it compounds after the first 5 years. It's like, oh, it's not going anywhere. Maybe I should exit it. It's too much hassle. And it's like, it's no too much hassle.
They've not gave it enough time.
If you watch last week's show, if you go back to last week's show and this playlist we've got in here, it'll blow your mind, and it'll show you straight away about compounding wealth and how you don't look at short term. You look at the long term effect, and you look in 15, 20 years time, and it's wow, absolutely amazing. Yeah. That's us, Richard. Any questions, or you want to finish off?
No, that was really good. I think that was a good exercise to cover today, and I think a lot of people will benefit for that, because it does answer a lot of the questions that a lot of people have, or it shows you how to answer them yourself. And always speak to, like you say, have the right people do things for you, or speak to the right people to help you do things. Don't waste your time doing it yourself when you don't have to.
It's so many people. I had somebody come on the other now and says, I've lost £12,000 in rent. How do I evict my tenant? And I'm like, what? It's like, we no management event. No, I self-managed. Oh my God. It's like unbelievable.
See, I didn't have any,
another story.
didn't have any properties in 12,000.
Guys, that's us till next week's Wealth Creation Show, and I'll see you on then. If you want us to talk about anything in particular, please feel free to mention it, because I will talk about it, because I've probably done it. Okay, bye-bye for now.
Bye.